I ordered a cup of coffee this morning at my local coffee shop and found myself nearly overwhelmed by the menu. It's fall after all, so the plethora of gourd-flavored spice drinks, mixed with any number of choices in whirled coffee beans, was staggering. I ordered a little off the beaten trend on my normal pattern, but watched as customer after customer selected their size, coffee, number of shots, flavors, milks from nuts, and their temperature. If someone with much more time and aptitude at math took the variables on at the local cafe, I'm sure they could find tens of thousands of possible combinations. This coffee phenomenon is a great example of what market dynamics does for the expansion of choices and benefit of the customer. I can remember as a kid going to restaurants and not being able to change the items on the menu. If you ordered the Saskatoon Scrambler, removing the onions was out of the question. But turn the page to today and ordering any combination of items with substitutions, removals, deletions of toast, or additions of rare items is the standard of nearly every American diner in America. It's brilliant, and it's exactly the opposite of what we're afforded in our government. It's getting to be that time of life again when elections are heating up, and instead of an expanding allotment of choices like the coffee shop, the same replicated plasticines are being marched out, told what to say, so that at the end of a long, overly expensive campaign, we can choose between two people: incoherent clown 1 or bombastic bozo 2. Pundit after miserable pundit will tell us it's the most important election of our lives, and if we don't vote for one of these indiscernibly different people, the republic will be over and democracy is as good as dead. Every third-party candidate will be assessed for the votes they take away from the primary goofball, and people will be shamed out of voting their conscience and into voting for the lesser of two evils. It's a terrible premise, yet it's one the ruling class loves to parade out. They know it is easier to rule by fear and not by conviction, and so they keep their machine rolling, wars waging, and their mansions mopped by minorities. It's a terrible game, and one that has alienated more people than it now attracts. Politics is viewed with cynical eyes, and only the most fearful participate. Here's the devastating reality. All that fear-mongering spent in the pursuit of convincing people that it was the other guy who was the problem was all a farce. Was there ever any hope that the likes of the Bushes, John Kerry, John McCain, Obama, or Trump were actually going to change a system that has been rigged in their favor for 100 years or more? The two-party party was exactly what they wanted it to be. No one really can get out of line, or the bureaucrats, donors, or Wall Street bankers will push them back in their place so fast that they would never know what hit them. Sure, they'll let them campaign on hope and change or making America great again, but when the rubber hits the road, the people from the shadows tell them just how it will be, see? Deviation from the plan isn't going to happen, and all the money will be siphoned off from the people and into the war chest for next time. They govern us by fear. They tell us that the other person is to be terrified of. They tell us the horse race is the only option. They tell us that even if you don't like your candidate, the alternative is worse. They tell us that a vote for a third party steals a vote from the only viable option and therefore is really a vote for the devils you like less. Bah humbug. I'm done playing the fool. The 2024 election cycle has an alternative that is developing and should be considered. Not simply because of the policy positions that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is taking, although I like them very much, but because the whole phony system needs to be taken out to the woodshed and dismantled into 1,000 pieces. I was told once that words mean things and that we should use them wisely. Conversely, watch how others use words, because it's usually where the sleight of hand is in fallacy and in manipulation. Turn on any media or scroll through a feed and the voices are loud. Voting for a third party is considered stealing from another candidate. In this farcical fantasy land, a candidate made for the buffet of mediocrity and milquetoast somehow already has possession of my vote, simply by his association with a party less miserable than another. By exercising my civic responsibility and choosing someone besides the one I am supposed to, I'm stealing a vote and nearly guaranteeing the victory of the candidate I should fear more. What a dynamic existence we're afforded. What would happen if people actually voted for the person that they thought was most suitable for the job? Maybe we wouldn't have such a money-centric election every year, where advertisers can carpet bomb the airwaves of the 14 major U.S. cities with negativity and fear. Perhaps we could cause some chaos in the way that politics is actually politicked. We might even be so fortunate as to get the best person for the job, not just the more likable of the least likable people running. The math is actually simple, and frankly, the Constitution is designed for just such a scenario. It only takes one state in the Electoral College not going for either one of the Standard Fare Party candidates to toss the whole thing into the spin cycle of ataxia. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 3 actually reads like the instructions to the board game Jumanji and places the pick of the president back in the hands of the states and to the authority of Congress. Practically speaking, if a candidate who's polling at 20% today can pick up a few other votes from voters who are tired of this backwoods logic and get to just 35%, it's likely that either the current stair stumbler or the one being tailored for an orange jumpsuit can't get the majority that they need, and the state will fall in the Electoral College to the person that people have some conviction around. And then, the whole thing becomes what might have been intended all along. Kennedy is a much more interesting candidate as an independent now. Not only will his positions be heard, but the possibility of winning is real. At the very least, his inclusion in the race gives people a reason to vote for something more than the lesser of two evils. There's not going to be any stealing of my vote that I currently possess. I'll be awarding it to the best candidate, the one who has the best shot at disrupting the mess that the Uniparty has left us to choke down.